The rain had been falling since dawn, turning the city streets into silver rivers. Emma Carter stood outside the glass office building with one hand holding an umbrella and the other gripping the tiny hand of her 7-year-old son, Noah. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," she whispered. "The babysitter canceled again." Noah smiled despite the cold. "It's okay, Mom. I'll be quiet." Emma forced a smile, though her heart ached. Since her husband had passed away 2 years earlier in a construction accident, every day had become a battle. Bills piled up faster than she could pay them, rent kept increasing, and finding reliable childcare had become nearly impossible. She worked as an administrative assistant at one of the city's largest marketing firms. The pay wasn't amazing, but it kept food on the table. Today she had no choice. Either she brought Noah to work, or she lost a day's pay she desperately needed. She prayed her manager would understand. The office buzzed with Monday morning energy. Employees hurried between desks carrying coffee cups and laptops. Emma quietly led Noah to an empty chair beside her desk. "Remember," she whispered, "color your books and don't disturb anyone. I promise." For nearly 3 hours everything went perfectly. Noah drew superheroes, read library books, and even helped organize colored paper clips. Several coworkers smiled at him. One even brought him a muffin. Emma began believing they'd survive the day. Then the elevator doors opened. Karen, the regional operations manager, stepped out. Everyone stiffened. Karen was known for one thing: rules. She noticed Noah immediately. Her heels clicked sharply across the floor. "What is that doing here?" The office fell silent. Emma stood. "I'm sorry, Karen. My sitter canceled. It's only for today." Karen crossed her arms. "This is a workplace, not a daycare. I understand, but no excuses." Emma's voice trembled. "I couldn't miss work." Karen's face remained cold. "Then you should have solved your personal problems before coming here." Noah lowered his eyes. Emma felt her cheeks burn. "Please," Karen interrupted. "Pack your things." Emma froze. "What? You're terminated." Gasps echoed through the office. "You violated company policy." Emma blinked back tears. "I've worked here 4 years." Karen shrugged. "Not anymore." No one spoke. No one defended her. Emma slowly packed the few belongings from her desk while Noah quietly slipped his crayons into his backpack. The little boy whispered, "I'm sorry, Mommy." She hugged him tightly. "This isn't your fault." Together they walked toward the elevator with nowhere to go. 3 weeks later, Emma had applied to over 40 jobs. Nothing. Savings disappeared. Electricity notices arrived. Her landlord demanded rent. One evening Emma sat at the kitchen table staring at rejection emails while Noah finished homework beside her. Then her phone rang. "Hello, Ms. Carter." "Yes. This is Bright Horizon Technologies." Emma nearly dropped the phone. "We reviewed your application." Her heart raced. "We'd like you to interview tomorrow." She accepted immediately. That night neither of them slept much. Bright Horizon's headquarters looked completely different from her previous workplace. Instead of gray walls, colorful artwork decorated every hallway. Employees laughed. There were indoor plants everywhere. Even the receptionist smiled warmly. Emma waited nervously outside the executive conference room. Finally a young assistant opened the door. "The CEO will see you now." Emma's stomach tightened. She entered. The enormous office overlooked the skyline. Standing beside the window was a man in his late 30s wearing a navy suit. He turned around with a friendly smile. "Ms. Carter." She shook his hand. "I'm Daniel Brooks." His voice carried warmth rather than authority. "Please sit." The interview felt surprisingly comfortable. Daniel asked about her experience, her strengths, her goals. Then he paused. "I noticed a gap in your employment." Emma hesitated. She hated telling the story. But honesty was all she had left. "My babysitter canceled." She swallowed. "I brought my son to work." Daniel listened silently. "My manager fired me." She looked down. "I understand if that concerns you." For several long seconds Daniel didn't speak. Instead, he stared at the family photo on his desk. Then something changed in his expression. He smiled softly. "I was that kid." Emma looked up. "What?" "My mother was fired for bringing me to work." She blinked. "I remember hiding under her desk with coloring books." His eyes became emotional. "I remember hearing people whisper." He took a deep breath. "I remember my mother crying in the parking lot because someone chose policy over compassion." Emma felt tears filling her own eyes. Daniel continued. That day changed my life. He looked directly at her. When I built this company. He smiled. I promised no parent would ever lose a job for choosing their child. Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. Daniel reached across the desk. You're hired. She covered her mouth. Really? He nodded. Not only that, he pressed a button. The HR director entered carrying paperwork. Daniel said, Show Ms. Carter our family program. The HR director smiled. We provide free on-site childcare. Emma stared in disbelief. If a child is sick, she continued, they may stay with their parent if necessary. Emma whispered, You're serious? Daniel laughed. Very. He added, Families aren't interruptions. They're the reason we work. Emma started the following Monday. Noah absolutely loved the childcare center. It had books, art supplies, science toys, even a small indoor playground. The teachers welcomed him with hugs. Within days he had new friends. Every afternoon he ran toward Emma smiling. I learned about planets today. Another day, we planted tomatoes. Another, I made you a picture. Emma had never seen him happier. Neither had she ever felt respected at work. Months passed. Emma quickly proved herself. She organized major projects, improved scheduling systems, saved the company thousands of dollars through efficiency improvements. Daniel noticed. One afternoon he invited her into his office. I have something for you. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a promotion. Operations coordinator. Nearly double the salary. Emma stared. I don't know what to say. Daniel smiled. Say yes. She laughed through happy tears. Yes. Meanwhile, Karen's company wasn't doing well. Employees kept quitting. Reviews online described the workplace as toxic. Productivity dropped. Eventually the board replaced several senior managers, including Karen. She found herself searching for work. Ironically, one interview brought her to Bright Horizon. She entered the lobby confidently, then froze. Emma stood at the reception desk speaking with visitors. Karen recognized her instantly. Emma smiled politely. Good morning. Karen looked uncomfortable. You work here? Emma nodded. I'm operations coordinator. Karen's face lost color. Before she could answer, Daniel walked through the lobby. Emma. He smiled warmly. Can you join our leadership meeting in 10 minutes? Of course. Daniel noticed Karen. You must be today's applicant. Karen forced a smile. Yes. He shook her hand, then glanced toward Emma. She's one of our best leaders. Karen looked stunned. Daniel added kindly. I've heard wonderful things about her. Karen couldn't meet Emma's eyes. During the interview Daniel reviewed Karen's employment history. Everything looked impressive. Then he asked one question. Tell me about a time you chose compassion over policy. Karen hesitated. Nothing came. Instead, she remembered Emma standing beside her frightened little boy. She remembered saying, Pack your things. She remembered Noah apologizing for existing. Silence filled the room. Daniel waited patiently. Finally Karen sighed. I don't have a good answer. Daniel nodded. I appreciate your honesty. After the interview ended, he decided not to hire her. Not because she'd once fired Emma. He never knew that detail. But because leadership required empathy. And empathy couldn't simply appear on a resume. Later that evening Daniel called Emma into his office. I have something I'd like your opinion on. She sat down. He handed her a proposal. The title read, Family Support Initiative. Emma read carefully. Paid emergency childcare, flexible schedules, parent mentoring, school supply assistance, family counseling, scholarships for employees' children. She looked up. This is incredible. Daniel smiled. I want you to lead it. Me. You know what families truly need. Emma nodded slowly. I'd be honored. The program launched 6 months later. Hundreds of employees benefited. Parents no longer feared unexpected school closures. Single mothers found hope. Single fathers felt supported. Children visited the office during family events. The company became known across the country as one of the best places for working parents. Business magazines praised its culture. Applications doubled. Profits increased. But Daniel wasn't surprised. He often said, when employees know their families matter, they give their best because they're treated like human beings. One Friday afternoon the company hosted Family Day. Children filled the office with laughter. Noah, now 8 years old, proudly showed Daniel his latest science project. It's a solar-powered car. Daniel laughed. That's amazing. Noah smiled. When I grow up, I want to build companies like yours. Daniel knelt beside him. Build one that's even kinder. I will. Emma watched from across the room. She remembered standing outside another office with an umbrella and a frightened little boy. She remembered believing her life had ended. Instead, it had only been changing direction. Years later, Noah graduated from college with honors. During his graduation speech, he told the audience, "When I was 7, my mom lost her job because she brought me to work." The auditorium became quiet, but another leader looked at us and said something I'll never forget. He smiled toward Daniel, who sat proudly in the audience. "I was that kid," Noah continued. "Those 4 words changed my mother's future. They changed mine. They taught me that success isn't measured by money. It's measured by the lives you choose to lift." The audience stood in applause. Emma wiped away tears. Daniel smiled quietly, because he knew something simple. One act of kindness never ends with one person. It echoes through families, through generations, through lives you'll never even meet. And sometimes, the child people call a burden today becomes the leader who changes the world tomorrow.